Good morning, Covenant College. Today, senior testimony day 2. We have the opportunity to hear testimonies from Melvin Hamdani, psychology major from Indonesia, and Ellie Scalero, an econ major from Chicago. So please join me in welcoming Melvin to the stage first.
Good morning. So, hi. So, good morning. I gotta be honest. Figuring out what to talk about for this is one of the hardest things I've had to do. But I'm very excited to share part of my story with all of you guys and how the Lord has loved me so this whole time. So, I wanted to talk about some ways my life has changed during my time at Covenant and the way the Lord has worked through the Covenant community to make himself known to me and really challenge me to change and live more like Jesus. So here goes. So I come from a privileged background, and I mean this in every sense you can probably think of. I don't mean this just to flaunt it at you, and I hope it'll make sense. But I was born into a Christian family. My parents are probably the best Christians I've ever known and are absolutely incredible as parents. And even though my parents, they grew up quite poor, I've only ever known like middle upper class living. And meaning I've also had the privilege of receiving absolutely high quality Christian international education from a young age. And although my identity is that of a double minority, I'm Chinese Indonesian and a Christian from Indonesia, which some of you may know. It has about a 90% Muslim population. It's not a Muslim country, but it has the highest population of Muslims in the world. I have never actually experienced disadvantage. I've never been disadvantaged or discriminated for my identity. The experience of most Chinese Indonesians and Christians has historically involved persecution and challenges, and some of which continues today. So my experience is completely different. I've had the privilege of being able to worship safely and be able to live as a Christian publicly throughout my entire life. So I've always known Jesus my whole entire life, and that's such a blessing. So I thought I did, if you will. So what I did know for sure is I wouldn't be like my friends who drank beer. I was better than them. And I wouldn't be like my friends who wanted to go to non-Christian colleges. Like how could they? Do they think they don't need to learn more about God? Like, I was definitely better and more of a Christian than they were. So my lifestyle felt way more Christian than any of them. And I thought that was awesome. Because they even called me Pastor Melvin at some point. Well, I hope you all can see what I'm trying to get at here. I was living in absolute comfort for most of my life, and I've been so blessed by that. But it also led me to unthought and stagnation. I'm by no means blaming the privileges and the blessings in my life. They're not bad in themselves, as all of you know. But nevertheless, in my sin, I had actually been slowly pushing God aside. And I was living like I knew everything there was to know, or at least like I knew enough about living as a follower of Christ. And I had even drawn some like arbitrary lines about what it meant. Like drinking, bad. Swearing, seems okay. So it wasn't until I got to college that any change would really happen. And I don't remember when this happened exactly, but for a while, I often asked to see my friends' grades, like to compare with my awesome grades, as one does. And it just felt normal for me to do. But one time, a good friend of mine confronted me, and they said, "Melvin, why do you need to know?" And for some reason, this hit me really hard. I had been asking people for a long time, by that point, to see their grades. I did that all throughout high school, and I know a lot of people who did it as well. So I never really thought about it. I just thought, why not? But so this was my first time actually thinking about, okay, why am I actually doing this? why do I want to know? Like, what is it for? And I know how it makes me feel. I'd been feeding my ego, and so it felt really good to do. But I had never really thought about that, like it felt good, like, oh, okay. And I had never really thought about how it made others feel. Like, to have me, their friend, exert my superiority over them. And so that was the first time I had like self-reflected, which is kind of ironic for a psych major if you think about it. Yeah. But so something stirred me to change, and I thought, like, that's not what Jesus would do. Like, it was not loving, it was not kind. It was all about me. And so I stopped asking people to see their grades. Um, so it may seem like a very small, minute thing, like just stopping doing that, but this should actually be the start of a lot more change. Like, I started asking questions in class, for example, even though I was afraid of losing my image. I asked people who were smarter than me for help, like absolutely unthinkable. And I even willingly let other people win in Kahoot. Like, can you imagine? Like, but most importantly, I started letting the Lord shine more than I did. And that's not really something I had like really tried to do before. And these things that I did became very practical ways of me to practice humility. Um, and by His grace alone, He revealed to me that I had been sinning against my neighbor, and He showed me the way forward. And so I thank the Lord for that. So going back, so part of growing up with so much privilege was the amount of choice I had. I could choose what to wear, what to eat, where to go to college with minimal limitations. And so I was super blessed. But funnily enough, I was actually extremely anxious because of this at the same time. Like, having so much privilege to choose meant that it was up to me. Like, I had to make the right choices. And if I choose wrong, I was going to screw up my life, or my parents are going to be disappointed, and so on. And talk about suffering from success. But I joke about that. But what it did also mean was that I was anxious even for really minor things. And so, like, just as an example, like once I took 30 minutes to decide whether to wear shorts or long pants to go to a computer shop. Um, so I felt like all the weight was on me, that I was bearing all of this. And although I really didn't think it consciously, I felt like I was in control and I had to like steer this thing correctly. Um, and again, I hope you get what I'm trying to get at here. This is actually related to something that later happened in the second semester of my freshman year. I'd been taking a psych class named Science of Learning, one of my favorite classes of all time. And we had talked about testing and cramming for tests and why cramming is bad for your long-term learning and blah, 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 which I had heard plenty of times before. But then my teacher, she said something along the lines of, it's not about your long-term learning, but can you trust in the Lord that He will take care of you, that He will give you the wisdom and the knowledge to do the test, and no matter what grade you get, He will still love you? And to be honest, that blew my mind. Like, I had never thought about it that way, and I was a serial crammer all the way through high school. Like 5 minutes before the test, 10 minutes before the test, always. But are you telling me like what I did before my test may tell me something about where I place my trust? And again, like before, like earlier, cramming was just something I did. It felt like a normal way of dealing with the worry of doing well on exams. After all, like everybody did it, and that's what I thought of. And I decided I was going to stop cramming for tests. But I was afraid. Like I was gripping the reins so tightly before. Like, is it really okay for me to just let go? But it was okay, and the Lord showed me that. And it was another very practical step that by His grace, He showed me I could do. And this set the stage for many things, many other changes. But most importantly, that I can trust in the Lord, that I can put my worries in His hands, which was before, it was like I thought it was all up to me. So, and because He's in control, I can do that. And so, again, I don't know if any of this makes sense, honestly. I'm sure, I hope some of you guys can relate to my experience. I know a lot of people who, I don't know, maybe struggle with some of this stuff as well. But I definitely continue to fall into old sins from time to time. And I'm far from a good Christian. I've already started to do some of these things, but there's still a long way for me to go. And honestly, I look forward to seeing how He will continue to work in me, even as I leave this place, but even more in how He'll work in all of you guys. Like even through the self-sufficiency I felt, and through my pride that I was trying to keep, and my attempts at control of my own life, the Holy Spirit persisted, and He worked through me, through the people I met, and the seeds that were sowed throughout my life and at Covenant to bring me closer to Him who died and rose again for me. So, yeah, thank you guys.